Well, this morning, this is Fish, and I'm sitting in the studio with two esteemed gentlemen who are running for supervisors for Sutter County. They're both incumbents. They've already run before, and my question for them are going to be some questions that have been supplied as well as ones of my own to find out really this campaign currently, what's going to make the difference in Sutter County that these two gentlemen can make a difference from past experience, but then also kind of things they're looking down the road and looking out for us and saying, hey, this is the things that we want to see change. And so I have Supervisor Matt Conant and Supervisor Nick Micheli with me. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Or maybe it's good afternoon.
Yeah.
What is it? We got a lunch hour coming. Right?
Getting close, yeah.
So I wanted to start off really by asking you guys, and I'm glad you decided to come in together because you don't always get an opportunity to talk to two at the same time, and kind of get your take on, how's the last 4 years going and where is it going to go? But one of the things I wanted to ask is how many years have you been a supervisor, Matt? Matt, I'm looking at you and talking.
I've been a supervisor for 7 years.
7
out of my 8-year term.
Okay.
Or two 4-year terms.
Okay.
And 3 for me.
Okay. Yes. And then you guys can run how many terms?
Unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Okay.
There's no,
no term limits.
No term limits in this.
So Matt, let me just ask you, your first year as a supervisor, was that what was that
swim
like?
time. Sink or swim time. A lot of things to learn. And I came from a background where I had a lot of experiences. I served on water district boards, 2 school boards, Farm Bureau board for 30 years, and State Farm Bureau Board and South Sutter Water District Board for 13 years. So I had a lot of experience in general government to understand what makes county work and what doesn't make county work. And that's why I ran into some of my concerns about those issues.
But it was still, first year is tough, isn't it?
Yes, first year's tough, and I had a lot of experience.
Yeah. So how about you, Nick? What was your first year like?
Yeah, so, I felt like definitely for me, the first 6 months, it's like they say, it's like drinking out of a fire hose.
Yeah.
It is, and then I think that first short period of time there, you realize, a lot of people tell you, it's billed as a part-time job, but boy, it's not really. Not if you really want to do it well. Yeah. It's really not a part-time job. You can put in as much work as you want, I guess, but to do it really the right way, I think that it's really become a full-time job. I think our deputy CAO was saying that they are estimating that it's about a 40-hour week at least that we do, and that's not including the events and fundraisers and things that we have to go to, ribbon cuttings and all of those sorts of things.
Being on the radio.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot of travel in it as well, right? But I think for me, I'm in a similar situation with Matt. I'd served on the Farm Bureau Board for quite a while. I'd also served on the California Prune Board, and I was on the Government Affairs and Management Committee there, which took me back to Washington every year. Meeting with the USDA, the FDA, the Trade Department, and of course, we're on Capitol Hill meeting with congressmen and senators and trying to really push forward our agenda there in the ag industry. So that gave me a lot of experience in working, and we actually had a few successes, believe it or not, up there on Capitol Hill. So I think that gave me a little bit of experience, but definitely. It is a learning curve.
Rough at the first, isn't it?
No doubt. Yes.
So I'm going to cover the questions, but there's some things I want people to understand about government. People have asked me, would you run that? My answer is no. I've watched these guys. Right? It's like, I got enough on my plate. I need to do this. So Matt, in the time you've been there, if you had to point to the one place that you can say, doing this job, this is where it was the most gratifying. This is where, as Matt Conant, as a man, right? I looked at this and I thought, I'm really glad we got this done for the county. What would that be?
I'd have to say there's 2 things that really, and I know you said 1, but I'd say
you can do 2. There's 2 of you here. You just took his.
Maybe. I'd say first is the levee improvements. I've been on the Sabuca board for 7 years, chairman twice. And we've made tremendous strides in Sutter County for the Feather River Basin to get everything that would be west of the river, all those levees improved. And Yuba City is basically the first major metropolitan area in the state to get to 200-year flood protection, 200. And I think that's very gratifying. We're not done. We've still got work to do. We've got the last 1.6 miles that's on the below from the Feather River confluence. I mean, a crossing of 99 to the confluence of the Sacramento River, and then also the bypass. Yeah, it needs to get done because there's some serious flaws in that levee. And then I'd say the other thing that I really, when I ran on one of the issues that I was very concerned about was the sheriff's budget and the sheriff's pay, and they were 20% under market, and it was very difficult to come with an agreement that everybody could live with and work to. And we finally got there to get their raise that they truly deserved and needed. And we stopped the hemorrhaging of officers and made public safety. Public safety has always been hugely important to this board and the previous boards. But, you know, if you don't have the pay there, it's hard to keep those people there that are really good qualified officers.
You know, that's a little bit hard sometimes for the public to understand. You know, it's like, well, so it's about the money. And it's like, well, yeah, when you have people change jobs, they take a lateral and go to another county because they can come here, they can get on, they get trained, they go through that. And then somebody offers them a lot of money from another county and, you know, just like the rest of us. So, you know, but we don't think about it that our tax dollars and what we do in support. So a lot of times when you think about who you're going to vote in, you might want to think where their stand is at. Right. So like that, I mean, you know, I always tell them when I have them on the air, I say, you know, who do I talk to about you guys getting more officers? And I'm that way about all law enforcement. I think we need more. I think we need more support. I'd like to see a greater portion of money go to that, but that's me, right? And so I can't assume everybody else is like me, but thank you for doing it.
Well, they mostly are.
Are they? Good.
Yes.
So Nick, now you've only been in about half the time as your senior there. So so when you look at these last 4 years, what would you look at and you say, that was very gratifying to me. I was so glad that got taken care of.
I would say similar. I mean, you know, 4 years ago, I made some campaign promises. I've been very fortunate that we've been able to achieve every single one of them. And I say that I made those promises, but we achieved it as a board together. So we worked really well together. But I think one of the reason that I actually decided, what pushed me over the edge to decide to run for office, was I saw a billboard sign with the Contra Costa County Sheriff trying to recruit away our sheriff's deputies. And that upset me. And so I decided right then I was going to throw my hat in the ring and make sure I was going to do something about it. So I think probably the most gratifying thing is making sure that we got the sheriff's deputies raises. As a matter of fact, we've given them 2 now, and stabilized that department. Not only stabilized it, but turned it around to where Sheriff Barnes is actually adding more officers now. So that's really a good thing. And then I'm also proud of what we've done for fire. We've given them 2 raises as well. And hopefully that, and that was very recent, but I hope that that begins to stabilize that department as well. So, because they were losing a lot of people also, and they were understaffed. And I'm sure you heard, you know, this last, about a year ago, December, we were talking about possibly having to do some brownouts, like possibly closings, because we were just so understaffed. And so hopefully that starts to turn around in a similar way to the sheriff's department.
So I'm going down a path here with you guys. And so when you look at things like that, you got a 5-person board, and there's 3 other guys helping to make the decisions. And you guys are looking at where the county's at from when you came in. You know, obviously there's a fiscal responsibility and people got to pay taxes. So you're concerned, you're taxpayers. You know, you guys don't get to sit there and then you get a tax break, right? You guys don't pay any taxes, right?
No.
As county supervisor.
Yeah, that'd be nice, huh?
Let's clarify this. I'm running for office if I don't have to pay taxes. So you have to keep in mind the people that put you there, that you're spending their money, right? It's like, I want to be a good steward of the money. So when I think of that, as you gentlemen look now on the horizon, right, and there's 5 of you having to make decisions that are going to affect us all in Sutter County. And so what do you think and I'll ask you first, Nick, what do you think the biggest issue on the plate for the county that you 5 men are going to have to figure out that's coming down the pike?
So let me just touch on this a little bit. So one of my campaign promises was that we were going to trim the fat and try to get as lean as possible. We were able to do that. We eliminated an underutilized health clinic about 6 months into office. We got rid of a few positions that we thought we could do without, saving over $600,000 a year annually in our budget. So we did that. I mean, we sharpened the pencil and did the best we could. And on top of that, I talked about this the other night at the forum, is that we are one of, if not the most efficiently run counties in the state. And the statistic that will back that up is in counties that have a population of under 200,000 people, we have the least amount of employees per capita. So we've cut just about all we can cut to make sure that we're continuing to prop up public safety, because it's important to us, and then we know it's important to the community. But other departments are suffering. And I talked about this, the other night, in that our public works department used to have 13 or 14 employees. I think we're down to 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah. And I always make this joke that I know it's a problem because I can see how tall the weeds are outside my office window. Yeah. Right. And so I think that's a good example of the cuts we're making in other departments to make sure that we're keeping, public safety paramount.
I don't think people always realize that that's part of the jockeying. It really is people's jobs, and everything's got to get done. We expect certain things from the county. You guys have to decide what's at the top of the list, and obviously public safety is going to rise up there. Everybody would say that, and I wonder, is it cheaper to fix the roads or buy us all new shock absorbers? I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in the meeting trying to decide that. I'm just saying.
Could I say one more quick thing? We hear a lot about, especially when we're out campaigning now, we hear a lot of talk about how the budget is huge and it's grown by this number. And that's true, but that's state money. That's not, so half of our employees are health and human services, and that's mostly state funded money. So that when that increases, it's state money. It's not like it's our general fund that's growing.
Okay, wait. Money. So you're telling me that when the state, I want to make sure I get this right. So when the state gives you money, they tell you where?
Some of it, yes.
So in other words, the state says, I will pay for health and human services.
Yes.
But that's coming out of your general, that's your choice. So they actually allocate money for certain places, which means you guys don't get a decision on that. When the money comes in, you got to...
Exactly.
You take it or you don't.
You take it or you don't. Right.
Wow.
And so really, I think the general public maybe sometimes doesn't know this, in that all the discretionary funds that we have in our control, it's only $85 million in the general fund. All the rest is from the state. If
you give me $84 million, I promise you, I will spend that other million the most efficient way you've ever seen. I'll be doing it from Cabo, but I will be.
So let me add a couple of things. So, Fish, first of all, Sutter County, not only the least number of employees, but we also have a lot of joint services with other counties. For example, we have a joint service health advisor officer, for Yuba and Sutter. We have a tri-county juvenile hall. Right. We have 3 counties that go in together for child protective services. We have a joint with animal control with Yuba City and a animal, the pound or whatever you want to refer to it as.
Yeah.
We have we do bi-county behavioral health, Yuba and Sutter. Those are all things that save the county's money, not only our county, but other counties that work with us. And then the other thing is our pay scale. I shouldn't say this, but it's true. We are substandard to other agencies around it. For example, Yuba counties, generally speaking, their people make a little more money than Sutter County. Same thing with Yuba City. And that is concerning because that's hard to keep qualified people here in Sutter County. And we've tried to work to address that a little bit, but it's really hard to come up with money to fund that. And that's some issues. God, what was the last part of your question?
So, well, I was asking you when you look down the road horizon what you see, but then also with that, since you're talking about pay structure and that, so Yuba County gets, how does the state determine how much Yuba County would get opposed to Sutter County? But before, I just want to commend you guys and commend Yuba County. When I came here, the number of joint ventures like that, MOUs, I am totally impressed. I hope people understand what a big deal that is, how it saves the counties,
Yes.
like county and city, whenever there is a cooperative effort.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope anybody running for office has that heart and attitude. Listen, the more we cooperate with one another, and especially because we've been through a few emergencies here.
Right.
You get man, these two cities, that bridge and that water is nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got a lot of people depending on both counties. So the more cooperative, I just think that's commendable.
And
So
Fish, I
let me
think
go
we're
back-
actually a leader in the region in doing this and starting a lot of these JPAs.
Right.
And I mean, it's really started here between these three counties.
Well, I had not, it wasn't common in my knowledge till I started interviewing people and finding out how many of those were around. And every time I turn around, there's a new one. So
Right.
Yep.
And
what
then-
were you going to say, Matt?
So I was going to talk a little bit about the budget and the federal and state
ahead.
funding coming into the county. So that budget has grown, but a lot of the growth is the Gatsby rule's been out for about 30 years now. And every time we get federal money, especially when it goes into specific requirements like health and human services, it's got to get accounted for. So it gets accounted once when it comes into the county, once when it gets deferred to health and human services, and for example, like jail medical is a third time. Now let's just throw some hypothetical numbers out there, but it's not 100% jail medical. But let's just say jail medical example is like $4.2 million. It used to be $350,000, but because of prison realignment with the governor shutting down prisons and stuff, now it's 4.2 because of an older population, sicker population, a lot more mental health issues. We got to do dental and vision now. Okay, so that's 4.2 million. So now it goes to Health and Human Services, then it becomes 8.4. Then it goes to jail medical, it becomes 12.6. Now it's not all that way. Some of it's general fund money, some of it's other, but that's how that number really escalates.
Because it's double counted. So the budget's really only 230 or 240 million maybe. But every time it moves from fund to fund, they double count it. And so now you get that number that's over 400.
And the reason why they do that is so that the federal and state government, when they see these monies going into those specific programs, best for health and human services, they can follow that and track that and account for it every dime. And that way, there's we wouldn't do funny business, but let's say somebody tried to do some funny.
Yeah. They could keep that from happening.
Right.
The important number, though, is like 85 million in our general fund. That's the important thing. That's
the stuff
that's what we have control over. Yes.
So one of the things I'm reading on here that some of the questions and I am going to get to this. I don't know about you guys. I'm really tired of hearing this, but I guess it's got to be addressed every time anybody in office, and that is the pensions, right? That always comes up, and it's like I got a great pension plan. When I get old, can't take it. I'm taking a water pistol, robbing a bank, and I'm getting part of that in the jail money. Right? They're going to take care of me, man. I'm that aging population. I shouldn't say that, right? Somebody will go, right? But right before I do that, this question has to do with Sutter County has a skilled workforce of about 1,000 full-time and part-time employees and an annual payroll of $147 million. I mean, that's a mind blower to me, right? These employees are part of a local government and school workforce in the two counties that, when combined, account for 1 out of every 4 jobs. That's huge. That makes the county a major employer, major employer. And so they're paid for tax dollars. So it comes under a lot of scrutiny. And I get that, right? See, when you see that figure and I'm thinking, let's see, what do I get paid? How much do I pay in taxes? Right. So you see the figure, but it's 1,000 employees. And Sutter County employees, what they do and what you guys are over, I just would like you to speak into that for a minute. It's like, okay, we're spending that much. It's part of your budget. Can you guys tell me?
Well,
tell me
what
what we
should talk about the finance part of with the CalPERS. I'll just.
Well, I'll get to the pension in a minute.
Sorry.
What I want to do now is say, tell me why we should appreciate these employees. Tell me who they are. Why should we should be appreciative? Don't look at the numbers, even the number of people, or the money that's paid to them. You know, when you break it down, it's people getting paid different amounts. Just tell me why we should appreciate it.
We have some wonderful employees in the county. Yes. I mean, both at the management level and entry level, and very dedicated, hardworking employees that, you know, and they really do an outstanding job. And a lot of times they're understaffed compared to other jurisdictions around us, and underpaid. And sometimes I don't think they're appreciated as much as they should be because of those issues, underpay and understaffing. And, you know, those are just, I mean, you know, when somebody really does a good job and they're doing everything they can do with a limited amount of resources, I think they are owed a debt of gratitude. And I'd leave it at that. I would be happy to talk about the pension and all that next.
We're going to talk about that next.
But Nick, you go ahead.
I wanted to hear this because you guys work with them every day, right?
That's right.
You're going to work with one department or another. And I wanted people to understand. And honestly, Matt, that was what I was looking for. Our current military does twice the mission with half the people.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand
We're in the same boat.
And exactly. And that's what I wanted to get to so that we can understand, you know, as a taxpayer, look, it is a large amount of money, but in an effort to get all the services and everything that need to be done. And it's why you guys are concerned about if we don't pay enough, they're good people are leaving and going where they can get paid. And I really was wanting to know, how much are you guys aware of that?
Right.
Do you have a plan to go forward with that, which then brings up the pension, right? Is there a plan to help these employees and to further benefit what you've already got? In other words, maybe hiring new people.
Do you want to talk about the employees first?
I'll just touch. I mean, we overall, if you took every department and looked, we have a 20% vacancy rate of unfilled positions in the county. And really the reason for that is because of the low scale pay, right? Surrounding jurisdictions, you know, are paying more. So you tend to get, you know, a lot of people who are right out of school, just entering. They're doing their training. It's a year and a half, 2 years, and they're out, you know, and it's tough to keep really good people. I mean, gosh, I don't know how many, even in administration, we've lost several people because they're making an extra $35,000, $45,000 a year in like Butte County or some surrounding county. Right. So it's tough. I mean, and that's why it was very critical for us to make sure that our deputies got raises to stabilize that department, because they were leaving as well. It was just a revolving door. Cadets would come in and they'd hang around for a while and then they were gone. And same thing, I know it was tough with behavioral health, had a 30% vacancy rate. And those people, trust me, I've been through there and toured that. Those God bless them.
They earn their money.
God bless them.
They earn their money.
They have a very difficult job. And I know that's starting to turn around now. They have added a few positions, which is a very good thing. But we very much appreciate our employees. And you know, every day I think we come in and just go, my gosh, we hope one of these great people in administration don't leave us again, because we're lucky to have them all. So,
And people retire and move on, and you know those long-term employees that have that institutional knowledge has to be replaced when somebody doesn't have it. That becomes problematic as well. But when you have people leave for another jurisdiction just because of it's better pay, that's even worse.
Right.
Well, they never fully get trained where the the money that you invest to train them ends up, you got to feel like we wasted that, right? Because we trained them and then somebody else gets them.
I know exactly how there was a time for a long time where I would bring in new employees on the ranch, and I'm like, okay, they never done really operated equipment, so I'm there training them, whatever, and then they're gone. I'm like, I'm wasting my time. Just took so much energy constantly trying to teach somebody, you know, how to operate the equipment, and then they're gone. I felt like it just got frustrating. So I understand what they're going through, and it's tough.
So, okay, now let's hit this pension thing.
Okay.
But let's
I'll let you do it.
let's go at it from two sides, right?
Yeah.
Number one, it has been a long-standing thing, and what I think people are the most concerned about is the debt it creates down the road. So I don't know that people are saying, let's not do pensions, right? But I do think they're concerned about the debt. That's what I'm hearing. So, Matt, what about that?
I'm very concerned about that. When I first ran, I ran on working down on pension liability, and we worked diligently on reducing it, and by like prepaying our liability that year and that kind of thing, which really helps because it gives you that return up front. But remember, this is a CalPERS driven plan. CalPERS is a state-run agency. We have no influence over it, no control over it. And so last year, beginning of the year, we had worked on it. When I took office, we had $180 million unfunded liability. We worked on it, got it down to about $125 million. Last year, CalPERS had a disastrous year. And I'll get into that in a second. They lost the county $75 million. We went from $125 million to $200 million in less than a year. And you say, well, how is that possible? And I said, well, in my opinion, CalPERS is a poorly managed plan, a poorly managed system. For example, they don't believe in investing in oil, guns, tobacco.
Oh, so
It's policy set by the state.
They don't invest in any of that. They limited gambling and alcohol. They still do some investing in it, but limited. So let's face it. When economies get tough, you need a balanced portfolio. And you need to have those investments because those always kind of chug along. They do okay. If you don't have that in your portfolio at all, when things go south, those things make money because people, no matter what the economy is, they're going to drink, they're going to buy fuel, and they're going to smoke, and they're going to gamble, and they're going to shoot guns. And,
as a matter of fact,
that's a funny thing to say, but it's true.
It's a statistic that when people are struggling, they sell more alcohol. I would think that's bad juju, but it's a fact, right? And so you're like, but you're right. And so let me ask this. So do you have to use CalPERS?
Yes.
Is there an option?
No, you can't get out
to buy out. It costs like $1 billion or something like that.
And then not only that, but every retiree would get like 15 cents on the dollar.
Oh.
Yeah. So your return goes from 6.5% down to 1%.
And I know we get beat up about it a lot, and you see it a lot during the campaigns, and I know that the community likes to blame us for it, but it is completely out of our control. I mean, we have a little bit of control.
No, we actually did something 8 years ago.
A little bit of control
that really has helped, and that is we set up a 115 trust account that the county every year invests $1 million in. They say, well, $1 million, that's not a lot. It's not, but you're moving that forward, and we're investing that separately from CalPERS. CalPERS doesn't touch us. The county manages it independently, and that is growing. And at the end of the payoff of the unfunded liability, we estimate it'll take 8 years off, which is huge. Mm-hmm. Which is huge. And that was our only thing we could really figure to hedge our bet against CalPERS. And I'd say mismanagement. I just don't think what they're doing is the best interests of the citizens of California.
So we're going to come back. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. And I know it doesn't seem like we've been here for 30 minutes, does it? It goes very fast.
How many questions do we get?
I mean, because I know it takes time to fully answer these. And so we're going to be back. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how do we address the future of the pension problem. I'm looking for the right word, right? Yeah. And how to do that. And that was interesting that we find out that some things are within county supervisors' control. Quite honestly, some things are not. We'll be back.